to replay it, right?
Yes, so...
I honestly think on a Saturday evening, most people will re-watch it, you know?
Here we go. Let me start filming.
I do. That one. Do you need one?
Okay, we are live here in Martindale, Texas. Welcome to the 58th Annual Texas Water Safari Question and Answer, because we didn't have a safari seminar because of Snowpocalypse 2021. Just FYI for everyone tuning in, the Texas Water Safari will begin on June 12th at 9 a.m. in Spring Lake, San Marcos. It will finish at 1 p.m. June 16th in Seadrift at Bill Sanders Memorial Park, also known as Swan Point. Check-in will begin at noon on June 11th. There will be a mandatory safety meeting at 4 p.m. The price increase, by the way, begins after today, April 3rd, Saturday. So if you want to register for the Texas River Marathon or the prelim, you need to do that today because that price will go up to $45 per racer after today. Oh, it started today. So sorry. Sorry, everyone. Hope you already registered because now it's a little more expensive. Anyway, hopefully that's all self-explanatory on the website. So while we're answering a few of these questions tonight, different questions that have been given to us already on our Facebook page, please refer to our website, www.texaswatersafari.org. On that website is the answer to almost every one of your questions. So look under the race, look under calendar, look under everything that you can read on there, look under it. Also found on there now is the link to the YouTube channel where you can see all 4 parts of the Texas Water Safari Seminar in 2020. Thank you all for being here tonight. We have about 30 people already watching us. We are filming this, I hope. Are we filming? Now we're filming so that we can upload this after this evening for any of your friends who maybe don't have Facebook and can't watch this. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Okay, so Trey Golden, I see you're now watching and you are the one who sent us our first 2 questions. So let me first have our panel introduce themselves and then we'll go on with some of the questions this evening. Okay, who wants to begin? Virginia? Okay.
Make it simple.
Okay.
On my right, your left, on your radio dial, is Virginia Condie. Virginia holds the women's solo record, and she also owns 1/4 of the women's overall record, along with her partners and her great team captains that year. On my left is my wife, Kristin Daniel, who's been a team captain for boats that have finished everywhere from 1st to 10th. And she's been a team captain over 20 times now, so any questions you might have about that, she has. My name is Jay Daniel. I'm on the Texas Water Safari Board of Directors, and I have finished the race 18 times.
Great, thank you for introducing yourself. Okay, so we're already having some questions coming in, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the original questions that were posted to the Facebook page. First question. When looking at previous finish times, what year or years would you call comparable from a river level or CFS standpoint to the conditions that we're seeing this year?
1988, 1989, 1996. No, it isn't as bad as 96 yet. 2013, probably 2011. 2006, which was exceptionally bad below Gonzales Dam. But that didn't have to do with the rain levels. That had to do with the fact that they'd repaired the dam and shut it off the night before. So that will give you a pretty broad range of low water years.
So
we could have a flood in a week because this is Texas. It's not predicted. We're not having a ton of rain in the forecast. So it more than likely will be a low year. But just know that it could change the day before the race.
Yeah, the 2000 Water Safari was probably levels compared to this prior to the race, and it literally started raining at the check-in, and by the time the race started the next morning, the water was higher, and where the first place team was be prepared for every conceivable condition.
Great, thank you. And just so they know, there is a Facebook page called the Texas Water Safari History page. You can join that page and look at so much data that was compiled over the years by Roger Zimmerman and is now collated by Roy Kleinsasser. So if you want to join that page, you can always ask and go back and look at those years, look at the splits and things like that. Okay, next question. Given that checkpoint number 9, Swinging Bridge, is private, on private property, what or where are the legal put-ins and outs between Highway 59 in Victoria and the bay?
Assuming that you don't know someone who owns private property through there, the answer to the question is Highway 59 or Loop 175, if you're old enough, is the upper legal put-in, and Texas 35 down below Swinging Bridge and saltwater barrier and all that. Saltwater barrier is only accessible during the race under any circumstances. Under normal, we'll have to check this with the Victoria Port Authority, but normally they have it open to where you can put in at the Swinging Bridge checkpoint the day after the prelim.
And that was actually another one of the questions, is after the prelim, will we have access to put in at Swinging Bridge?
And we'll make an announcement on the Facebook page and on the website if we receive approval to do that.
And just some housekeeping. Could anyone give me a heads up if you can hear everyone okay on Facebook? If for any reason you can't hear, please someone wave at me, send me a note. I appreciate that. We are outside on Jay's lovely deck overlooking the San Marcos River. So just in case a dog starts barking or something, please let us know. Okay, here's the next question. The question is, can you access Spring Lake before the race? And if we cannot, how do I see the portage there?
You can let the San Marcos River Foundation lady answer that.
Thank you, Virginia.
So that it is not legal to access Spring Lake, and so if you, I guess people can put in an hour before the start of the water safari. If you've never seen the portage, make sure you get your boat in an hour before the start. Go look at it, and that should give you enough time. It's not super complicated. If you don't anticipate being at the front of the pack, the start is sort of crazy and fun, but you have time to take your time down the dam, and as long as you've kind of picked a route, you should be fine.
Great.
On another note, that they've been doing repairs to Spring Lake Dam for the last several years, so it's entirely possible that the portage will be mandated for us.
It was in 2019.
Okay, that's great. They said they can hear me okay, but the panel is a little low, so you guys are going to have to, I can't get too much closer, so you'll have to just speak up.
We will speak up.
Okay, speaking of Spring Lake, can you tell us a little bit about what the Clean Boat Protocol is and why it's necessary?
So there's a problem in Texas rivers with zebra mussel, and they're really proliferating, and they're carried on a boat. So there's more problems with power boats and boats like that don't ever get completely dried out. But in order to keep Spring Lake as pristine as possible, the requirement is to go through that protocol to clean your boat, so that we aren't the problem with creating additional issues in Spring Lake.
Okay.
And Spring Lake has a bunch of endangered species, so the last thing we want to do is introduce something like zebra mussels that are extremely invasive. Just to give you an idea, zebra mussels can live for several days in just a drop of water. So if you have, say you go to Town Lake or Lady Bird Lake in Austin, where they are, and you've got your life jacket gets wet, and then the next day, or really within the next 2 weeks, you go and you paddle on the San Marcos River, there is a good chance you could be bringing some zebra mussel larvae to the San Marcos River. So it's especially important in Spring Lake to make sure that your boat is, washed per the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department standards. But also, as you're training for the race, just know there are zebra mussels everywhere on the Colorado River above Austin, and then also they're in Canyon Lake now. So they are going to be spreading down the Guadalupe, but so far they're not in the San Marcos, knock on wood. We'd like to keep it that way.
And there's a link on the website to the Clean Boat Protocol, so you can go and read that.
And please plan on doing that before check-in. When you bring your boat, make sure it's good and clean.
That's a requirement.
Yes. Next question. This is from Sally O'Donnell. Can ground crews fly a drone over the river? I'm assuming it's to check for the status of their team, or maybe it's just for filming. So do we have any guidelines on drone use around the water safari?
At this point, there are no issue. I mean, we don't have any regulations or not. I mean, obviously you couldn't fly one at Palmetto State Park because it is a state park and they're not allowed. Victoria City Park may have, what's that?
You have to be louder. Lisa says, Carter says, oh no, Gary Gibson said, it's hard to hear Jay in Virginia. I'm gonna get a little closer. Okay, here we go. All right, back to drones.
Back to the drone. So it won't be legal at the state park. It's probably not legal or a good idea at any of the city parks because most of them have regulations about it. However, if you're just pulled something at 447 on the Guadalupe and you want to run your drone up and down the river, we don't have any rules for it or against it at this point.
Make sure that you check with local airports because I know with drones specifically, you have to be a certain amount of miles or whatever away from an airport. So like in Fentress, they have skydivers all the time. You may not want to fly a drone in Fentress.
And just from experience, there is nothing more irritating while you're paddling than listening to the propellers off of that drone. I mean, probably nothing more irritating.
That being said, we have had drone operators filming, so that may happen during the race.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Just because I don't like it doesn't make it illegal.
So we have a personal care question, and the question is, can you talk about the pros and cons to using paddling gloves? Full gloves versus fingerless recommendations.
Don't do it.
I would second that, although I'm in a boat with two guys who are wearing them. It's been my experience that when your hands stay wet, and they will if you have gloves on, that makes it even, your hands end up even worse. There's a story from the late 70s of guys wearing cowhide gloves because they thought that would be a good idea, and their hands were so jacked up for months after the race that they couldn't do their jobs as carpenters.
That's good to know. Okay, and yes, obviously it's a personal choice.
Right.
Some people will.
Yeah.
So, a TC question. Is a TC able to touch their racer, like to help them change into dry clothes, clean up, and dry off? I'm not sure if that means during the race or at the end. I mean, at the end, obviously,
At
but
the race, yes, you can help your racers change clothes, clean up, that type of thing. But during the race, no.
And thank God about that after the race.
Yeah, because they can't move very well. But during the race, no. If they're going to change shirts or do any kind of cleanup, they need to do that themselves, and they need to take those supplies in the boat with them. That is not something a team captain can give them.
Right, that's really important. Is if you want to change clothes, you better have packed those clothes with you.
okay. And once they take those clothes off, they can throw them out of the boat. They just
Right.
can't have them back again,
Yes, that's
correct?
correct.
Okay, great. Another big question, and maybe this is not one we can answer yet. Will there be an awards banquet this year?
I'll answer that the way I've answered it with private emails and whatnot. Our current plan is to hold the awards banquet as normal. That said, we may have protocols in place as far as masking and distancing and things of those natures, depending on what the situation is when we get to June. So I would highly suggest that you get your vaccination. Most of us are legal for it now. And continue to follow all the safety guidelines in place just to keep everyone around you from getting it. And, you know, this is no joke. I've heard about teams that somebody in the boat had the COVID, and as they're shuttling back, it ends up infecting other guys. So be careful. I mean, we all know it's not a joke, but all that to say, our current plan is to have the awards banquet as usual.
And tell us a little bit about Bill Sanders Memorial Park. What is that going to look like?
I will say there are really good views of Bill Sanders Park on the Google Earth, and I think everyone will enjoy the space. We have a space designated for tent camping if people need to do that. It's by comparison to the park at the seawall, it's a bit of a pain to get to. You have to go through a neighborhood. So I just ahead of time say, please be respectful as you drive through that neighborhood of noise and whatnot. It's a really nice park. Calhoun County has done a great job of restoring that park after Hurricane Harvey. And it's a neat place. I think we'll enjoy it. Right now, our current plan is in 2 years, this year and next year, is to have the finish line there while repairs are effected at the seawall. And our current plan is to go back to the seawall at that time.
Okay. Sally O'Donnell asked, so the awards banquet will be at Bill Sanders Park?
That's correct.
Yes. So hopefully that helps. Okay. I think we only had one other question, and that was, what is the status of the Guadalupe, the access to the bay? Is there still what's that plant that's growing?
Water hyacinth?
The water hyacinths, for people who are interested in bay training.
I would really suggest you go down there and look at it. It could be a problem. It might not be a problem. As of Monday, it was a major problem. Awesome.
Okay, so that is most of the questions that we had leading into today. Other people have been posting questions. I've got about 30 people watching right now. Does anyone watching have a question that they would like to ask the panel? If not, I might have them touch on some important issues, other important issues, like in the rules or personal care, while I wait to get a few more questions.
While we do that, Kristin, why don't you talk about some of the issues that people have with registration?
That would be great.
Yes. So when registering for the prelim, pre-registration goes through, I think it's the 16th. You must have a team captain for the prelim. Let me say that again. You must have a team captain for the prelim race. It is required. If you don't have a team captain, we will not let you race. When you register for, and if you pre-register for the prelim, we've asked you to give boat numbers, and I'll be going through in the next day or two to see if there's any duplicates. But when you pre-register, you need to supply your own boat number for the prelim. That was a big confusion issue last year. So, but if you register...
2019.
Sorry. The lost year. If you register the day of the race for the prelim, we will assign you a boat number and give you the sticker. When you register for the water safari, you have the option to register with 2 team captains. If you are only going to have one, just put NA in the name of the second one, and then it'll let you move on. You also need to do your boat numbers as well. And I just have to state this because I've had multiple emails on this already this year. Team captains do not ride in the boat. They are not a paddler in the boat. Your team captain drives the course and supplies you with water and ice and food, the other allowed items throughout the course. They are not in the boat.
And registration is open right now.
It is open, yes.
Go to the website, click
Go to there's
the race.
The race, and then there's get registered, and there's a link there, or you can go to the calendar, and then there's links from the calendar for both races.
I hope that answers your question, Carolyn.
How many
Go
boats
ahead.
are registered right now, Kristin, in round figures?
There's about 80 boats.
Okay.
One more thing, if you don't pre-register for the prelim, you're not guaranteed a t-shirt if you register on race day. So please
So
go ahead
register
and
early. It makes life easier for all the
does.
people in charge.
It does.
Sally O'Donnell wonders if there will be a link showing who is registered for the water safari.
That will be posted within the next several days.
Everyone be real patient. Okay, there was another question. What are the rules regarding single versus double blade paddles?
Single versus double blade paddles has to do with the type of craft that you are racing in. So if you're racing in any of the unlimited classes, whether it's unlimited, tandem unlimited, or solo unlimited, you can use whichever type of paddle floats your boat or paddles your boat. If you're in an aluminum boat, you're required to use a single paddle. If you're in a USCA C2, USCA C1, a standard, all of those boats, you're required to use a single paddle. All of that is listed under boat information in the rules.
Yeah.
Or I
Boat
don't know
class,
if I called
boat
it the
classes
right
and
title.
classifications.
Boat classes.
Boat
Yeah.
classes.
So
Or
click
boat
on that.
types.
Yeah. Okay. So Matt Tate, he's a novice. Will there be any discussion ahead of the race at check-in about the log jams and where to expect them?
One of the important things to note is that we don't give a detailed description of the course. We may talk about it if there is a specific portage that's required, but it's on you as a racer to go down and learn your way through the course. That's part of your preparation. So that said, I'll tell you that generally there are log jams down below the swinging bridge checkpoint. So I would think if you wanted to look for a good long paddle, you would do the 38 or 39 miles from Victoria 59, I'm going to call it Loop 175
okay.
the rest of my, from Victoria 59 to Highway 35 and get an idea through that.
And let me tell you, if you have a good friend that will give you intel like I did my first year, your good friend might tell you to go right at the first log jam past the swinging bridge checkpoint. So you do, and that was not actually correct. So do your homework, go see it, don't rely on GPS trackers. Literally, it could flood the week before and everything could change. So you really need to know that area. It's where a lot of teams have problems. So you want to be prepared.
Yeah, there's nothing more entertaining than looking at the spot tracker results from that section where people don't know where to go. Don't rely on Google Earth through there because your GPS that you might want to follow is accurate within whatever it is, 30 feet or whatever. The places you can paddle through there aren't 30 feet wide. It may be sending you through the trees.
Yeah.
So we have two questions that kind of go together. One lady asked just for general advice for first-timers. And then this other man, Thomas, asked, beside the required gear needed, can you speak on other gear that people usually bring? And he thanked you for doing the Q&A. So kind of for first-timers, let's just talk a little bit about, as quick as we can, some required gear and then maybe what other people might bring, you guys as racers, versus what's on the website.
So the required gear is really specific. You need flares that are not expired, a whistle, life jackets, etc. So that's really easy to fulfill. Figuring out what is too much to bring versus a good idea is a little trickier. And I will say this, it's a low water year as of today. And so knowing how to patch your boat would be a good idea. So I'd say a good repair kit, especially for the ladies, bring a pee jug, extra zip ties, maybe a screw to mess with your rudder cable if you have a rudder.
And extra paddles.
Spare paddles.
Definitely a spare paddle.
Extra batteries for pumps. Or pumps is also
Oh yeah, pumps in the boat.
Or something to get the water out if you don't have a...
And you want to be redundant with some of these things. And again, the trick is to not carry so much stuff that you can't pick the boat up.
Right.
But, you know, think about what you need to repair the boat. I think we covered a lot of this during the seminar, and so I can't remember which section of it, but I think you'll find most of that information. I have to say that the inventor of flex tape was a genius. However, as a boat repairman, I really hate having to get that stuff off afterwards because it works that well. We're talking about required and not required. You know,
Like for first timers too.
I've been involved with the race since 1984 in one way, shape, or form. And at just about the time I've seen it all, I realized that I haven't. I've seen guys come up with enough toilet paper to wrap the White House. Although I guess you couldn't get on the grounds there any longer. But you know, yes, you probably need some toilet paper, but don't bring toilet paper. Bring like the wet wipe kind of thing, because you'll appreciate it for more than just your butt at the end of the whole thing.
Oh, aquifer. Or butt
Or
paste.
vitamin E.
Or vitamin E.
Or Aquaphor.
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
You're going to be out there a long time.
you know, I would this year, because it looks like it's missing extra hats, because if you get one, you know, raked off your head, you want to have redundant sunglasses. It's another redundant item.
The better you take care of your body, including your skin and your eyes, the better you're going to finish. It just make sure you're taking care of your body. And a spray skirt is not required.
No.
Is that correct?
It's not required.
But it is a fabulous idea, because my first year it was like 40-mile-an-hour gusts in the bay. That is not fun. So get a spray skirt. Holly Orr makes spray skirts. You can find her on Paddle with Style.
She's also under helpful links on the website.
Yeah, she's great. She will. You can't ask her 3 days before the race. She's getting ready for her own race. So if you're in need of a spray skirt, now's the time. She also makes mesh bags for your food. You do need to put your food in a mesh bag so that we're not littering all over the river. And then also she makes ice socks. So that's not necessarily something you're going to have in the boat the whole time, but in the heat of the day, your team captain can give you an ice sock. And the way that she makes them, it's really great for the team captains to Velcro the ice in so that it stays in place around your neck.
And if you go back and watch the seminar from 2019, you'll see examples of those.
Yeah.
Probably session 3 or 4. I think.
And actually we did just repost all of the seminar, the 4 sessions of the single day, and each one prefaces what we discussed in that session. So you should be able to figure out which one. I think the longest one's 2 hours. Take a couple, an hour or two and listen into everybody and all the different things. That'll give you your best idea of the overall gear that you need. Sally O'Donnell said, I spent hours playing in your 2019 Logjam. So go see the Logjam. So finding a team captain, God bless her, Tina Sackett, said, so anyone know a TC for a solo paddler? Any recommendations on how you find a team captain? What are you looking for in a team captain?
The best method I have seen is bribery. You find some 19 or 20-year-old who's grown up around the safari and actually knows what the heck they're doing, and pay them. Other than that, beg your wife, beg your mom, beg your dad.
They have to be over the age of 18
They have
and
to be
sign a
over
waiver.
18.
Yes, you want somebody that's trustworthy, that's going to be able to be up during the middle of the night doing the handoffs. You want your team captain to be familiar with the course, which they can learn that while you're out practicing. They should be out driving the course. On the website, there's a link to the driving guide. Highly recommend that. There's pictures. It's very detailed. And you can look at the pictures, read the map, and things look different at night when you're trying to find these little county roads. So team captains need to be very familiar with the driving course, because your racers are not familiar with the driving course because they're seeing it from the river. Jay's done the race and been involved for many years from the river, but it got to the point where I could drive us to every bridge better than he could because, or something had changed, or a sign had changed, and he's like, no, you need to turn here. I'm like, no, that's not how it is anymore. He's like, oh, well, I probably haven't driven here in 15 years.
I get that a lot.
So.
Well, and
But
Kara,
I would say sometimes I know people have put out on the Martindale Athletic Club page or the ATX Paddler page, which there's also links to those Facebook pages on the Helpful Links page on the website. They'll blast out anybody interested in being a team captain, but you want them to be trustworthy and organized.
yes. And one lady who asked a question said, I'm able to be a first-time team captain. Tina Sackett, there you go. Message her. Gotta love our community.
You can't overrate the importance of the team captains, because number one, that's our number one safety link. That's the person who's most likely to know that you're overdue or that something is not right with you, because you are their focus. And if you look at the more experienced teams, they're looking for either longtime team captains, or they're looking for someone who's a racer who has, to look from that perspective. But and I know it's tough, but it's that important of a safety link to find a team captain.
Yep. And then treat them super nice. Don't yell at them during the race. Take them to dinner after. Pay their expenses. They shouldn't be buying you ice and water.
And apologize ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jay apologizes the morning of the race. He always says, I'm sorry for whatever I'm going to say to you during the race. But Patty, they will yell at you.
Yeah,
They
get
all caught up
tired.
into it. Just know at the end.
Virginia yelled at me and hurt my feelings.
Did I really?
No.
He only has one feeling.
I only have one feeling.
One
It doesn't make sense
feeling.
to her.
feeling.
Okay.
No, but the thing is the team captain is the one who has to sign the teams through at the checkpoints. Has to be there with water and ice. So a team captain could be the cause of a team not being able to continue on.
And the team captain needs to know the rules, because they might accidentally do something that, you're a little loopy by the end, so you may not know,
One thing that the team captain should also know is where the team has packed everything in the boat, because the racers get pretty loopy, down below Victoria, and if they can't remember where they stored their spray skirt
Or their extra batteries.
you need to be able, because you can give them all the verbal help. So you can tell them your repair kit is in your back hatch, your spray skirt is in your front hatch, or under the seat, or in the certain pockets. You need to know where your team has placed items. The other thing I was going to say about team captains is it's not a 24/7 party where you need to be drinking your way down the river, because you're driving, you're going to be sleep deprived, and you're responsible for your racers. There's also a link on the website for team captain information, and it kind of goes through things that you should know, and things that you need to pack as a team captain that will help you during the race. And I think we did cover that in the 2019.
In session 4 on team captains.
And I'll say it again, I've worried more during the race about the safety of the bank crews than I ever worry about those of us in the water, because if you're going really fast at some point, you may hit 12 miles an hour if everything's really wonderful, and you might knock your head into something or something like that, but you're not driving 70 miles an hour down Highway 87 in the dark. That's where the real danger, in my mind, lies.
So taking care of yourself, making sure you rest and eat and hydrate and use sunscreen, just like your guys in the boat. Matt Tate also asked about directions to get to Swinging Bridge for his team captain, and we'll just say again, the driving guide is on there and the directions are really good. There are also signs on the road at the turns and things like that. They're small, but you got to watch for them. But they're and they'll see other people going out there, so not to worry.
I could tell you turn right at the Victoria trash dump right by the big warehouse and go till it dead ends and turn left and then slow down because you have to turn right or you're going to run off into the field. Go across the barge canal, turn left through the little gate, turn right, and you're there. No big deal.
And watch for all the deer that are back there.
Just because it looks a little bit like Deliverance, don't worry. You'll be fine. Another question, and this is a good point we need to talk about, spot trackers. Would you recommend having a two-way communication device other than a cell phone in the boat? So let's talk about the required spot tracker.
So spot trackers are required, and it has to be a Spot brand. It can't be, any of the other two-way tracking devices, because that's what our software works with. And I say that having no clue how software really works. You can take one of the Spot trackers that has a two-way communication on it. It's been my experience that those are not really quick communication, based on some trips down the Rio Grande where that stuff's going back and forth. But you can have it. It's also required that you carry a cell phone, and again, that's a safety item. For years and years and years, you couldn't have two-way communication. And as I said during the seminar, by all means, especially if you're in one of the boats that I'm racing against, spend all the time on the phone that you want, because that just kills your time and lets me get a little further down the river. But have it accessible, sealed, safe. The spot tracker, I think the Gen 3s are about the best ones. Do not ever press a spot tracker button when it's underwater, because that's when it's not waterproof. Or even if it's got water on top of it, shake it off. The buttons don't seal once they're pressed in the water.
So I did do a little research because for some reason everyone thinks I know stuff. So you have a couple options with Spot. The Webbers were having trouble because the place they rented it from no longer exists. In 2020, we lost a lot of businesses. So I went ahead and I called Spot, and they have some options. So if you buy on eBay a Gen 3 for whatever, $50, they have a flex plan. Hello, bird. They have a flex plan now that comes to about $50 to $60. It's activated for a month, and then you can turn it back off again. And so it's actually one of the better deals, and maybe the cheapest way you can go. Sometimes people who aren't racing may have one to rent out or to lend. Again, that's something you might use those forums for on Facebook to see if anybody has one to borrow. But so it's not going to put you out as much as a double blade.
Or a single blade. And Patty, that's a good point. We don't have any for rent as the Water Safari. The ones that we have are strictly backups for when they fail during the race. So it's not like you can show up to check in and it's like, oh, my spot tracker's not working. You need to check just like any other piece of equipment ahead of time.
Yep, definitely.
They will stop you at a checkpoint and make you switch it out, and it could take 10 minutes. So I'm speaking from experience, make sure your spot tracker's working.
And make sure you have fresh batteries in there when you start the race.
Which is also required equipment.
Yes. So Felicia Ziegler said, any tracker recommendations? I'm a little confused by your question, Felicia, because you do have to use a spot tracker. I know the MR340 allows you to use a Garmin, but we do not. It's just the spot. If you mean a GPS in your boat, obviously that's your personal preference if you want to use one of those, right?
Yeah. I mean, most of the Garmin, most any of the handhelds that you find are going to operate fine. I would look for one that has the longest battery life, and then double check to make sure that it's, I think it's IPX67 or maybe it's IPX7 rated for being waterproof. But don't count on your GPS. That's a tool, not a crutch.
And someone asked if the spot tracker can connect to the team captain's cell. The answer is no, but you can download an app. There is a spot app, which is contingent on you having cell service while you're out there driving the course, and there are places there's no cell service. So knowing when your team is due to arrive is a lot safer than watching the blip every 5 minutes on an app if you can see the app at the time.
I would correct that just a little bit, because if what you're asking is, can I have my spot tracker send my team captain a message?
Oh, maybe that's what she's asking.
Answer is yes. So
Okay.
for instance, I think there's one that's custom messages or something.
Right, okay.
You know, I use that, and it's linked to I use that all the time, you know, to Kristin's phone, where I can hit that button and, you know, if she knows to come pick me up at some place or what have you. But, you know, you could have it say, need water, you know,
Right.
something like that.
Is that available on Gen 3?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to do that on.
Yeah.
You do it
Got it.
ahead of the race, so it's
Yeah.
not like you can change your
Right.
message
Okay.
mid-race. That's the only problem with that.
Okay.
In when year did Sean and I race? 16 or
Yes.
16? In 2016, I was having a really bad race, and we had broken our rudder blade down below Swinging Bridge, and we were changing the rudder blade out, and so I hit the OK button so that it would go to Kristin, and you know, at some point it blipped, and she knew that we were okay. You know, some problem we're having.
Got it.
But
Right.
but make sure that's only going to your team captain, not to a race official, because once you've contacted a race official with the SOS or any of those other functions, you've asked for help, and you've effectively taken yourself out of the race.
Gotcha. And then so just researching what we got partially disconnected. Hopefully everybody can still see us. Probably as the sun is going down, the connection is going to waver a little bit. So hopefully that answered your question, Carolyn. The spot thing is definitely something to research and make sure you know well before the race.
And go ahead and use it on practice, you know, with your team captain.
Use it on the prelim.
Use it on the prelim.
That's a great idea.
And know where it's got to go in the boat, because
These are
it's
facing up.
inevitable that at check-in someone will have their spot tracker in a place that's not going to work. It doesn't work through anything. That spot logo needs to be able to see the sky.
Okay, that's good information. Okay. So someone said, I'm looking via Google Earth at the Bill Sanders Memorial Parkway. I see a boat ramp on the northeast side of the park. Is that the finish? I would have.
It'll be in that vicinity between the boat ramp and the tip of that little peninsula.
Okay. So the best thing to do would probably to go practice.
Well,
It's maybe?
not marked yet.
Okay.
So, but it's just like getting to the seawall. You know that once you're at the pier, that you're finished. And so, you know, there's some little spoil islands right in front of it. If I was facing Seadrift, that boat ramp is to the right. So if you've gotten yourself to the boat ramp, you're going to see the finish line if it isn't there. I mean, it's 100 yards
Okay.
in an area.
Awesome.
Distance. Something.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Or is there any other? We talked about registration and spot trackers.
I have one more thing about the spot tracker. Just remember that if you have a spray skirt made And if you're going to cross the bay with that spray skirt, your spot tracker still needs to be able to see the sky. So make sure you don't have your spot tracker in a place in the boat where your spray skirt's going to ultimately cover it up. Just figure that out ahead of time.
Good information. Okay, anything else that you guys think we should cover?
Practice how you're going to eat, how much you're going to drink. Learn the signs of not having enough adequate electrolytes. Learn the signs of a heat stroke. Do all of that prep now so that when you're in the race, you know what your body's going through, because your team captains need to know that also, because when you get to the end, you're not going to look good. They need to know if you have a problem or if you're just at the end of a very long race. So that stuff is really important. You have to train how you're going to race, and that's all part of it.
Yeah, don't try something new on race day. You know, it's like, don't come up with your new super duper carbohydrate fat mix drink that you haven't ever drank before and take a big swig of it, halfway through the morning.
Yeah, that's not going to sit well.
I would also say that for your clothing that you're going to wear, don't break out a brand new pair of shoes, tights, shirt that day. Wear your stuff in practice so you know where the seams are, where they might rub. Your shoes, if you do take your shoes off during the race, make sure you tie them in the boat in case you flip over. A lot of people will take their shoes off at night to kind of let their feet dry out, and a lot of people have lost their shoes because they weren't, secured into the boat. Somebody did ask, the max number of team captains per boat is 2. Now, you can have people helping you, like hold jugs, prepare jugs, food, that type of thing. But actually doing handoffs or touching anything related to the boat, it's only 2 team captains. And they must be over the age of 18.
Hopefully that answers your question, huh? Any other questions, y'all? We got a few more minutes. It's about 6:47. Figured we'd go an hour or less since it's Easter weekend. The filming that I was doing with my camera failed, so we're hoping that this live stream turned out well enough that I can post it on YouTube. Al also asked, what is your protocol for delaying the event? Weather and or COVID. So do we have any of those protocols pending?
Let me take the COVID thing first. Basically, all of our decisions are based on the municipalities and the states. So the municipalities, for instance, if we can't use Ocarina Springs because that belongs to Texas State University, or we can't use San Marcos City Park or Victoria City Park, or Palmetto State Park, those things come into play. So we're dealing with, I can't remember how many counties and how many different municipalities down the way. So we'll follow all applicable state and local guidelines. And so as of right now, everything looks good. There may be some changes in check-in as far as how we get in and out of Ocarina Springs, the Meadow Center. I'm never going to get that right, am I? And there may be some specifics at, for instance, Palmetto State Park or Victoria City Park, because, those are all municipalities that have real rules in place. Odds are that if you're under the Highway 59 bridge, there's not going to be any rules in place because it's kind of a free-for-all. Or Hoheim.
Yeah.
God bless the team captains at Hoheim. And the other part of that question was weather related?
Weather. Tell us about any weather. So we're talking like floods, lightning, whatever.
So it's a rain or shine race. That said, we have some specific cutoffs as far as flooding that we will not hold the race in. As a very general rule, you can use the USGS website or the NOAA website, and if the river is at flood stage, um, that we won't have the race. The exception to that is if the Bloomington gauge is in minor flood, we will still hold the race. If it's in moderate or major, it's off. I know it's okay. I know it's safe. I know you guys think you can get through it fine, but we have liability for people to consider. That said, the San Marcos River gets dangerous long before it gets to flood stage, and so we have some differing protocols for it. As far as low water, that's what makes it the world's toughest canoe race. So we're not going to postpone it hoping it rains. Matter of fact, those of us who have been around a long time kind of hope it gets lower, just because it makes it harder for those of you who haven't been around a long time.
So in practice, that's part of your practice. You've got to learn your CFS and the different locations and where the river is, because part of being safe out there is in prep, you've got to know what you're walking into.
Right.
So learn that now. Don't wait for whether or not safari is going to happen.
And I think there are links to those.
There is a
to those
link on the
gauges
website to the gauges, yes.
So, there's I didn't bring my phone out here, but there's a really neat app called Flood Watch that I have set up with different places along the way, just so I can pull that up and look at them. But you really do need to know that. I mean, for instance, at Gonzales, I mentioned briefly that in 2006, as a race official, I got to Gonzales Dam, and there was no water going over the dam. It was high and dry, and so it was like, this doesn't make sense for the conditions we've had. And come to find out, they had repaired Gonzales Dam during the previous week and had shut it down on Friday to allow it to refill. And so as teams were going, it was different for different people. The first few boats, I mean, it was terrible. They were racing from gravel bar to gravel bar. But the Gonzales gauge is a good one to know, because they generate on a pretty regular cycle, and you can see that pattern, so you'll know what you're getting into. If you're a rookie team and you're planning to sleep, you might look at that and know that, hey, there's no flow here from this time to this time. That would be our best time to sleep. If you've been at it long enough, you can look at the Bloomington gauge and know if there's a cut open or not, just because of the elevation that comes into play.
Christy Benura asked about check-in. The attendance for check-in, obviously mandatory. Will that be the same in the past? Or have y'all discussed the possibility of it being virtual, because we pack a whole lot of people into very small space? So I don't know if you guys have discussed that yet. Obviously, we have been live streaming it the last few years.
Right. We've been live streaming it. Check-in at the race briefing is the place where you get information that, things that we may know or have found out that it's probably generally available to the public, but not everybody's paid attention to it. So, I mean, a good, for instance, would be the water's a certain height, and Martindale Low Water Bridge upstream here, we're going to say there's a mandatory portage. And, you're responsible for that information that happens at check-in. I think the point of your question is, are we going to do it live and in person like always? And the real answer is, we don't know. We hope it's the same. We hope, where we can have it, but it may also be that all we allow into, and I'm talking off the top of my head, we have not made decisions yet. We may have it to where only the team members and team captains can go into the staging area, so it won't be quite the party it's been in the past with all of our family members floating around and whatnot. It may just be the teams and team captains. you know, it may be something that we have to do virtual. You know, we're, again, following all of the state and local protocols and trying to keep everyone as safe as possible.
Thanks, Christy. Okay, so we have just about 6 more minutes or less. Anything, hi Tim, his ears were burning, you know that. Anything that we maybe haven't covered, something.
No, we didn't. No, we were talking about keeping your shoes tied in the boat.
So you didn't lose them, yeah. Any other questions?
And don't get rid of them
at the bay?
saltwater barrier.
That is a good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
At the saltwater barrier, or wherever your team captain finds you around Trailer Cut, if in fact there is a lot of water hyacinth in the river, don't discard everything out of your boat to have a light boat for the bay crossing, because you never know if you're going to be out there for 12 hours. Make sure you take food, water, you know, an extra paddle, all the things that you have needed the whole way down the river, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the bay.
Yep.
And train in the bay. It's
Especially this year.
different.
Yes,
Yeah, it's just
Everybody.
different.
You know,
Yeah.
it's, if indeed the South Fork or the main channel of the river stays clogged up, you're going to need to know how to get out of Trailer Cut and back into the bay. And the finish line is different. So, you know, this is, I mean, I've been to the new finish line 12 or 13 times now, but I've never been to it by water. And so I still have that to do. And I guarantee you it doesn't look the same from the water as it does looking from the finish line out.
Yep.
And Virginia's exactly right. I can't tell you how many times that someone's gotten down to one of those places and said, "We're not going to need this stuff anymore," and start shoveling out of their boat. And sure as shooting, you know, they've probably dumped their flares or something that they really need.
an emergency blanket they may need
Yeah.
when they
So-
pull over on a
so-
spoil island.
Yeah, so as a team captain, down at like saltwater barrier, Trailer Cut, wooden bridge, if your team starts chunking everything out, do not touch anything until they leave that stop, because they may at the last minute decide, oh, I'm going to go ahead and take this. If you've already touched it and moved it, it can't go back in the boat. So wait till they leave to start cleaning stuff up, because you've got plenty of time to still make it to the finish line if you've met them at the 35 bridge or down at Wooden Bridge. You've got time, so just wait till they head out.
And as a team captain, your teams are going to be tired of eating by that point. Make them eat and drink. If they are not eating and drinking, they're going to have a really hard time getting across the bay. It takes a lot of energy.
So we have another question, and this is actually about portaging, some of the portages. In specific, back in 2019, Gonzales Dam was under construction and we had to portage river left. Is that still the case? Is the portaging open on both sides?
As of right now, both sides are available to portage. That said, something has damaged the little boat ramp thing getting out on river left, so it's not quite as simple as it used to be.
And the mud there is this thick.
And some big clod tried to climb up the ladder and broke it loose.
Wasn't me.
It was you.
No, it wasn't.
And,
Pay no attention to the man behind the camera.
and you know, and right now with it low, getting out river right is really tough. So, you know, again, have a plan. Have a plan.
Any recommendation on Cummings or at the road?
Don't go over the dam.
Don't go over any of the dams, Jason Cade.
Go around.
Jason didn't go
Over
over
the
the
dam. Fell off the dam. Don't fall off a dam.
Yeah, don't get close to any water going down a substantial
Drop.
drop.
That-
That is not smart.
That said, at Cummins Dam specifically over on River Right, there are a couple of sets of stairs that have been built, and the landowners on both sides would really prefer Even though you have the right of portage around either side, the landowners would prefer you use those steps. That being said, do not try to take your boat right down slide it down the steps, because I guarantee you your 36-inch wide aluminum boat will become wedged. So you want to have it up above the rails.
Remember that at the second drop at Rio Vista as well. So please take the time to watch the safari seminar videos that we've posted both on YouTube and on the Facebook page. There's also so many videos of race at different checkpoints. There's photo albums. There's so much to see. Spend a little time looking at past races, which will help you as well. Help your team captains kind of see what they're going to be seeing, because most of those pictures and videos were taken at checkpoints and places where your team captains will go.
Go see the course.
And Tim was very wise. Tim Curry said, go see the course. It's 7 o'clock, so we want to wrap this up, and I don't see any more questions. Any final words of wisdom from our panel?
Train hard. It's going to be a hard race.
And if you've never done it, this will be the best thing you ever did.
Hold the bag.
Kristen, register and don't ask you questions. No, just quit.
Please read the rules. Read everything that's on our website. We really have tried to put all the information out there so that we don't get asked a lot of questions. And I would say 99% of the time, the questions that we get on Messenger or in email, those answers have already been answered on the website, either in the FAQ, helpful links, or the rules.
Yeah,
So please read.
There's nothing like watching some of the race admins' eyes roll all the way to the back of their head when you ask, do I have to have a team captain?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Can
It's
he be
already
in the
answered
boat?
for you.
No. We hope to see you all at the prelim on May 1st and at the Texas Water Safari at check-in on the 11th of June. Please, if you do have any questions, feel free to message the page. We'll be as kind as we can. But keep that in mind. Read first. Thank you
That's
for...
why Patty answers the question first instead of Jay.
We appreciate you all joining us tonight for this Safari Seminar Q&A 2021, and we will see you on the bank soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.